Hey guys, hope you're well. If you're watching this video, you're probably having some pretty shit results with Meta right now, and you're probably wondering what's going on. Now, I don't proclaim to be any type of Meta ads expert or anything like that. I've done a decent amount of spend in my own account, both running ecom brands in the past and also running my current agency where we work with Shopify brands predominantly on their website. We don't actually run paid ads for clients. But I've experienced this year a lot of the ups and downs that others have experienced with their paid marketing campaigns, and had a lot of issues this year, which we've had some pretty good months. We've had some months which weren't as good as I would have liked them to be. And finally, it seems like we've just started to hit some degree of stability with it from a paid ads point of view. And there is always volatility with meta ads, so you can never get rid of it fully. But I wanted to kind of just run through the latest update, Andromeda, and also what's been working for us, which maybe can work for you guys as well. It doesn't matter whether or not you're D2C and you're an ecom brand or you're some type of B2B business, either selling products or services. I think this is all relevant for everyone, and I think there are some crucial things here which need to be done differently, and if you don't do them differently and adapt to this latest update, you are going to be left behind. So take everything in this video just purely anecdotal based on my own personal experience running paid ads. Our budget right now is about 12 to 15,000 pounds a month, so roughly $20-ish thousand. So not an enormous budget compared to some big brands who are doing hundreds of thousands or millions per month, but also not a tiny budget either. Like, we are spending an okay amount per month in paid ads. So the first thing first is that when it comes to targeting, and this is quite a well-known point at this point, I feel like everyone knows this, but when it comes to targeting specifically, you want to do broad targeting. So targeting inside of your campaign should be broad or open, as some might say. And what I mean by that is you don't need to do interest-based targeting, so you don't need to select interests that your target demographic are interested in. I do still filter a little bit based on location. So for example, for us, targeting Brazil or India or Colombia or something like that, like, these countries aren't really relevant for us. We predominantly target the USA and the UK, and there's maybe one or two European countries we lump in there as well. So we do add in the countries that we're targeting, but that's kind of where it stops. I do also exclude audiences. I exclude people that have already booked a call. So I create a custom audience for everyone that's booked a call with us over the last 6 months or so, and I exclude people that have booked a call. If you're an ecom brand, this might not be as relevant to you because you're going to have repeatability with your business. People are going to buy from you and then buy again from you, most likely, especially, you know, if it's that type of product or it's some type of consumable or something like that, or even if it's not, like, if you're a fashion brand and, you know, you sell clothes, people will come back and buy other clothes from you if they like what they bought from you initially. So with that said, I would say that might not be relevant for most of you, but it is something that we are still doing. With the broad targeting, and I've tested with broad and not broad targeting, I've seen much better results with broad. You will start to see some better results, but you're still going to run into this issue where, like, ads keep dying. And so one thing that Meta is driving home right now with this Andromeda update is what they call creative diversity. And essentially what that means is you want to have lots of different types of creatives. Now, the issue here is that when we, as, you know, people who make magic money on the internet, hear creative diversity or more volume, we immediately just go down the tunnel of, okay, well, I need to record 5,000 hooks and 5,000 CTAs and like 10 bodies and like chop and change them and make all these massive combinations. And I think the goal sometimes is to have as many creatives as possible, which isn't really what you want. So the goal is not to have as many creatives as possible. You do need some volume, but the primary goal is the primary goal is to have as many angles as possible. And when I say angles, I don't necessarily mean angles in terms of, how would you say it? I don't mean angles in terms of different hook angles and things like that. I mean completely different messaging. I mean from beginning to end, different ads. So for example, for us, we sell CRO services for brands on Shopify. One ad might be aggressively targeting something like volatility or meta ads that can be counteracted or counterbalanced with a higher conversion rate. Another one might be your ads are going great, lots of people are arriving on your website, but not enough people are purchasing. Another angle might be you're having great conversion rates, everything's going well, you're profitable, you're earning money. The problem right now is that your average order value isn't high enough. So how do we increase average order value? Another angle might be nothing to do with that. It might just be as an ecom brand, you're always making additions and upgrades to your Shopify store, and the development teams that you work with are maybe not that great. So why don't you work with a really good development team like us? So you can see how each of those is quite different to the other. There is, in some instances, a little bit of overlap, but overall the messaging is quite different. And so what you want to do is have completely different messaging between your ads. And what that will do is allow the algorithm to start to test this different messaging, as it always has done, but also allow it to use some of those ads as kind of a means to warm up an audience, or a means to educate an audience before actually hitting them with the ad that will convert them. And this kind of brings us to the next point, which is a really important one here, is that Meta is doing the whole funnel inside of one campaign. So that this is really important to understand, is that traditionally you might have like a top of funnel campaign, a middle of funnel campaign, a bottom of funnel campaign. You'll have your awareness campaigns, you'll have campaigns that are maybe trying to get people to buy a lower ticket product, and then you have those bottom of funnel ones where it's like the most warmed up audiences that are ready to buy, that you're targeting with your best offers, your most expensive offers, your special edition stuff, like all that type of thing. Right now, Meta is trying to do all of that inside of one funnel altogether. And because of that, when it comes to creative diversity, you want to start to include some things like just UGC content, brand reviews, things like that, that the algorithm can utilize to target people with that before it actually hits them with an ad that the intention behind it is to convert them into a paying customer or get them to book a call or something along those lines. So you want to make sure that you have ads which relate, or ads, I should say, which appeal to all audience types. Funnel. So you want to make sure that your ads appeal to everyone inside of that funnel. And we've seen that, I mean, literally just today. So yesterday a lead came through, they submitted the type form, and basically they were qualified from the financial point of view, but they said we essentially announced our price up front inside of the funnel because we found that lead quality increased significantly. And so this lead was qualified, they could afford our services, but when we asked them, this is how much it costs, essentially, are you willing to pay that? They said no. So they were redirected to another landing page for a low ticket downsell. Now, that same lead was retargeted today. They came through the funnel and they booked a call for later today with the sales team. So you can see this in real time right now, where it's like the algorithm is retargeting people and trying to get them to convert as much as possible. And the algorithm, we've seen like we launched 3 pieces of UGC content in our one main campaign, 2 videos, 1 image. At first, the algorithm was just putting spend on the image ad, the UGC review, which was just a static image. It then switched to the video ads, and what was crazy about this is that it's not just doing one video. Both videos, they're slightly different, but it's putting spin on both of them. And so it looks like that potentially, you know, the UGC with the video stuff is getting people to engage a little bit more than with the image stuff, and so that's why it's putting spend on that. It's a small proportion of overall spend on the campaign, but the spend is consistent. And that brings us to this next point, which is that you do need to pay attention to spend day to day on a creative basis. And so typically what would happen before is if you had some type of ad creative that was underperforming from a ROAS point of view, it wasn't getting any purchases or any conversions, you would switch that ad off. But given that the whole funnel is being targeted inside of one single campaign now, it might be the case that that ad is not getting conversions, but it is supporting other ads getting conversions. And so if you switch that ad off, overall for the whole campaign, you will see a huge degradation in your performance. So what you want to do is analyze both the literal performance, as in how many calls have we booked with this creative or how many sales have we made, but in addition to that, you also want to look at the spend day to day. If the algorithm spend is going up or staying steady, then you want to ensure that you keep that ad creative on. However, if the ROAS isn't where you need it to be, it's not making conversions, and you've seen a dip in ad spend, it was going up or it was going sideways and now it's just kind of fallen off a cliff, that would imply that that ad creative is no longer useful to the campaign. It's no longer supporting that campaign in the way that it needs to, and you need to switch that off and replace it with something that is going to support the campaign. So what I'd put here is switch off ads which are under target ROAS, and this is crucially, and are not getting spend. Now, it might seem pretty simple, But these points here, I've probably spent the last 6 months just trying to understand these in a bit more detail and get them all understood in the way that I'll explain today. And we've seen significantly better results when implementing this. So make sure that you're targeting broad. Make sure that your creatives are diverse, and I don't mean you have 10 different hooks. I mean you have 10 completely different ads. We try to have about 20 ad creatives in a single campaign. Meta is doing the whole funnel, so make sure from a diversity point of view you have some UGC content, some reviews, some ads that target problem articulation, some ads that target solution articulation. Target people up and down on the sophistication ladder. Some people will be solution aware, some people will only be problem aware, etc., etc. Some people are completely unaware. So just make sure you target all levels of that. And then make sure that you, before you switch an ad creative off, you're not just paying attention to its conversion results, but also paying attention to the spend that goes towards that creative as well. And hopefully you guys will get some much better results and see a little bit of some type of normal activity from Meta as opposed to this, up and down craziness that we've been seeing recently. I hope that helps. I have some free stuff in the description if you guys need help with any of this. We're on paid ads for our clients, but we do bottom of funnel stuff if you do want help with your website. Otherwise, wishing you guys all the best and hopefully see you soon.